So hi, everyone. Here we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to the second part of our Grow Your Garden Group Lunchtime series. Today, we're going to be exploring best practices and ideas for managing plot waitlists and ways to keep members engaged in a variety of important garden tasks while they are on that list. So thank you all for coming. My name is Hannah. I am a project coordinator for GreenThumb, and my current project is bringing benches to the gardens. And I'm here with my colleagues Adder and Erinn, who can introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Erinn. I am a community engagement coordinator for Bushwick and Queens. I see some of my gardeners in here, so welcome, and welcome to everybody across the gardening community. And yeah, happy to be here today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adder. I'm the workshops and events coordinator here at GreenThumb, and I will be supporting with tech today. If you have any issues, please feel free to private message me. And I'm really looking forward to this workshop.
Okay, and so I think we'll close up our poll soon. Okay, it is closed. So let's share out the results. And so let's just go through it real quick. So seems like I know some folks mentioned that they don't have a wait list yet. So, hopefully you can get some tools for that today. I think you will. And seems like
I think the wait list is stashed in a filing cabinet somewhere.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. People, a lot of times this information is collected, but just there's no procedure about how it's stored or referenced, who has access to it, who's, managing it. Let's see, the wait list is self-managed, so folks, can put themselves on the wait list, that sort of thing. A few people, it seems like there's an even split here, or a split between a couple folks have a waitlist coordinator, which is good, and some others. So would anybody who answered other mind sharing what that other is? And you can do it in the chat if you can't.
I answered other. This is Adipon. I'm actually the garden coordinator, so that's I basically manage what's available and assign it, and then talk to the group about if people need to switch plots or whatever. But as a garden coordinator, I basically assign the plots.
Okay, so you're more of the plot manager. I see. Okay, so I think we have okay, and Laura answered in the chat that you have a committee that will probably be handling it. So I'm assuming maybe it's just not, you don't have a wait list yet, Laura, or is it just you're starting to form this committee to figure out how to handle an existing wait list?
I can talk now.
Okay.
So we had people sign up, so now we have a list, and then we haven't distributed any plots yet, so we figured that out, and then we're going to then it's what to do with the wait list. Yes, now after people get the plots, I think we'll have one.
Okay, so yeah, that's a unique situation to be in where you haven't assigned any plots to any gardeners, but you already know that you're going to have a wait list that will be forming. Okay, yes. So everyone, thanks for sharing out about the different, just kinds of waitlist procedures you have or don't have. And that's okay. That's why we're here today, to help give you some tools. So we're going to move on to talk a little bit about ways to manage your waitlist. And so I think as an outreach coordinator, community engagement coordinator, we recently changed our title. So sometimes it takes me a second to remember, but if you've talked to your community engagement coordinator, if you have a particular kind of group development issue, a lot of times we will come back to the same thing as bylaws. For folks who have been doing relicensing with your garden, you know that bylaws are a really important aspect of the way that the garden is governed. So a lot of times if there's some process or way you want to manage your garden, it should be reflected in your bylaws. That way, it's already a process that's everybody agrees upon and is written down so it can be referred to. Part of these bylaws are also formed by GreenThumb policy. We let gardens self-govern, but there are certain stipulations that we require. And as it relates to wait lists and plots, one of the most important things is that gardens must have a wait list if there are garden beds. Now, if you have, 10 members and 10 garden beds, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to have a wait list. But the moment an 11th person comes and says, I want to be a member and I am interested in a plot, you have to have a wait list for members who would like to have a garden plot or garden bed. Another important aspect of this is that membership to the garden cannot be tied to plot availability. So let's say you have 10 garden plots, 10 members. When the 11th person comes, you can't say as a garden group, oh, we don't have any more room for members. You still have to take that person on as a member, even if you don't have a plot for them. And that's where a lot of gardens find themselves currently, is that they have more members than they have plots or individual plots. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about strategies for managing those members on the wait list. And so one of the ways to just manage the wait list itself is to create a role for someone responsible for the wait list itself, for making sure that people get added to it, for making sure that it's a first come first serve for the wait list. So making sure that it's properly documented who wants to be on the wait list when they want it to be added. And so with bylaws, it's good to have these things written into the bylaws. So in the bylaws, it's good to, a lot of bylaws have stipulations about governance. So like committees or different leadership roles. So there should be a committee, kind of like in Laura's garden, there's a committee who, will probably be handling managing the plot wait list. So building those roles into your bylaws, making sure that those roles are filled will make it a lot easier to manage the wait list. And as I mentioned, plots, another part of our policy is that plots can be first come, first serve. So, there's no like legacy plot giving, that sort of thing. Like, oh, I can give my plot to my friend when I'm done using it. If I'm moving away, if a plot becomes available, it has to go to the next person on the wait list. So, who gets next plot isn't determined by the former plot owner. It's determined by the wait list. So the first person who comes is the first person who gets the next available bed. And tied to this, we tell gardeners that for every start of the season, or even towards the end of the season after the season is over, we recommend that you have a date for which current plot holders are able to tell rather, let me try that again, but you can have a time by which plot owners who currently have a plot can confirm if they're going to use it for that season. So usually a lot of gardens that are successfully managing their plot wait list, they usually have a general meeting in March or February before the start of the season. And during that time is when current plot holders can confirm if they're going to be using their plot for that year. And so that's pretty important because you don't want to have a wait list and then May comes around or June, which is pretty, deep into the garden season, and you have some plots that are claimed but not being used. So yeah, that's an important one too, is that you make sure that people confirm that they're actually going to be able to use their plots. And sometimes people, even if they're not gardening that season, want to try and hold on to a plot. And so I just advise that, you make sure that people are always using their plots every season. And, if someone's like, I can't do my plot this season, then plot should probably go to the next person on the waiting list. I know there can kind of be some extenuating circumstances, but you can't have people holding on to plots for season after season if they're not using it. And let me just check the chat.
I want to add real quick too. Erinn brings up a good point with the bylaws, in the sense that this is where your garden group can kind of add, you know, your own shape to things. I've heard gardeners add a bylaw saying if by a certain date there's nothing planted in your bed, then it goes to the next person, you know, as an example, because yeah, but you know, if you do have a wait list, these are valuable pieces of land that people want to tend to. And if you're worried about, you know, coming up to a member and saying you know, your plot hasn't been used, that's where the bylaws come in. You have something to rely on and that you can bring up and reference and say, like, look, it says in our bylaws, if you haven't planted by April 15th, then it goes to the next person, or something like that. So but yeah, there was a few interesting points in the chat here. Laura brought up the idea of doing a lottery or a random selection for garden plots. Erinn, have you experienced anything like that?
Well, I think I haven't, but I think this is a unique circumstance, because I imagine with the new garden, you know, a lot of folks signed up for plots at once. You know, if you like, I'm not sure exactly how you did it, Laura, but if you had like a meeting and people signed up at the meeting, or you released a poll or something like that, I imagine you probably filled out the number of, you know, the number of plots was like, the number of responses for who wants plots exceeded the plots kind of right away. So it's a little harder to do first come, first serve. So I think a lottery in this instance, I think a lottery could be more appropriate, especially if it's hard to track exactly when, like, if everyone's a new member, exactly when every new member signed up to be on the plot wait list or signed up to get a plot. I would say, yeah, I think in this instance you can do a lottery, but I guess I would make sure that the lottery put everybody in a position. So let's say there's 10 beds and you had like 50 people sign up. So the lottery picks 10 people, and then also the lottery creates a waiting list for the other members. After that lottery happens, anyone after that who wants to join the plot wait list can then be first come, first serve. So I think that's a way to kind of more equitably do it in the beginning when a lot of people sign up at once for a new garden. You can run a lottery. After that, anyone else who is interested will have to do first come, first serve, because you know, then it's like more, I imagine, trickling in, and you can track who wants to join and when. Yeah, so that would be my guidance on that one, is that I think, you know, a lottery is good. So let's see.
Can I ask about new members? I mean, you know, in our case, we have, this is Adipon, we have plots available because some members are not continuing. And so we have new members, and our bylaw for new members is they have to do 20 hours of volunteer work. And now they have to do like community project before they can get a key to the garden or a plot. Before, we used to give everyone a plot if it was available, but they were not always maintaining it or doing the work. So we've decided this year, not everyone will automatically get a plot. Is that okay to do? And then, or do you suggest, because we do have empty plots, that we should give a new person who wants to come, even though I know they're probably not gonna, one of them has a bad back, she can't do that much, so she's limited with what she can do. Do I still give them a plot because we have it available? And see if they're able to manage it as a new member? Or is it okay, how we've been doing it is, we have a community plot, they can help do the volunteer what they can in the community plot first, then they get their own plot once they show they've been committed to season.
And so I want to make sure I understand the question. So you're just asking, so you have open plots now and you have new members, and you want to know if they, after they fulfill the membership requirement, can they just get a plot?
No, they haven't even fulfilled the membership.
Oh, okay.
Should I, because I have plots available, just give them a plot or half a plot because it's available? Or is it okay for us as a group to say, you have to fulfill these volunteer requirements first to show that you're committed before you can get your own plot?
I think that's okay because, the membership requirements are a requirement to become a member. And one of the benefits of membership is a plot.
Yes, okay.
So yeah, and and I think that's an important thing with bylaws too. And we'll talk a little bit in our next section about how to keep people engaged if they are on a plot wait list. But I think that is one thing you want to think about, because a lot of times you think about responsibilities of gardening, like you have to weed your plot, you have to have a plot by this time, but also think about what are the benefits of membership, like why do people want to be a member of this garden, and make sure that you have some sort of membership rights too, as well as responsibilities. So I think it's totally appropriate for you to say, we have plots available. Once you complete the membership requirements, you can get a plot. And for the person who you mentioned who you're not sure about their, physical capabilities, you can definitely just ask them. And if they, feel comfortable having their own plot, or even if they might want to share a plot with somebody, yeah, just ask them what they feel like they're capable of. We don't want to make any assumptions about what someone is capable of. So I'd say just, ask them. And you can always split plots, have people share plots. It's really up to you in terms of like how those types of plots are managed. And so the last thing I wanted to mention is in the chat, I noticed there was a question about folks not filling their responsibilities. So people not doing work, communal work in the garden. And that's actually a really common issue that we have, where people will just come and tend their plots and then not, clean up garbage on the sidewalk or weed any of the communal areas or shovel snow in the winter. And that's where we also go back to bylaws where, as well as having rights and responsibilities listed clearly, you should have kind of like consequences for not abiding by certain rules of membership, not, participating in the responsibilities of membership. So one, make sure that you have it clearly listed in your bylaw. A responsibility is that you are responsible for, and you can be as, it helps be specific, like 2 hours of communal garden work, and be specific about what that means. Taking out the trash, picking up trash on the sidewalk, shoveling snow, weeding in like the, be really specific in the communal flower area, along the pathways. And like hosting open hours, that sort of thing. And if people, so then you have something to look to. If people aren't doing their 2 hours of communal work, then in another place in the bylaws, you can have the consequence of you'll have your bed taken away. And that's, and that's a consequence that, as long as it's laid out what the responsibilities are and what the consequences are, and, giving someone a heads up that they're not fulfilling that, giving them a warning to give them a chance to correct that behavior, then, if it gets to a place where they're not fulfilling their membership responsibilities, you've given them a warning or 2 or 3, then you can take that action of, not allowing them to have access to an individual plot.
Yeah, in the chat, Erinn, Tracy actually just mentioned that possibility. So Tracy says at Prospect Heights Community Farm, people can lose their plot if they don't do their requirements, and people have lost their box. She says they have a service hours person that tracks members and a separate box coordinator to assign boxes. And this brings up a good point here. Tracy says that they post everything for transparency's sake, which Erinn was just about to bring up too. Like, how do you communicate with those that are on the wait list?
And so, yeah, that is transparency is very important, like make sure everyone's clear on, like, again, the rights of membership, the responsibilities and the consequences. If those aren't followed, the responsibilities. And so, yes, publicly posting the wait list. This will clear the air. I've had instances where gardens did have a non-transparent process for the wait list, and it created a lot of strife and a lot of conflict, because people just, didn't trust that the process was a fair one. And, everyone, our gardener handbook is made public, and with gardens, every member should have a copy of the bylaws. So, if certain processes are laid out and not followed, then people will understandably be upset. And, similar to publicly posting the wait list, you want to make sure that if you have a committee or an individual person managing the wait list, that you check in with people regularly. Just saying like, just want to let you know that you're still on the wait list. This could be once a year, maybe 2 times per season. If someone is off the plot wait list, I think just even making an announcement that folks have moved up on the wait list, checking in. That's important to make sure that people know that the wait list, if they stay on it, eventually they'll get off of it. And I think we have a little time to just add in, let me just see here. Okay, so yeah. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how we keep people engaged while they're on the wait list. But do we have any final questions about bylaws or communicating? Okay.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, thank you, Erinn. I just shared a file in the chat here. It's a little tip sheet that Adder kindly made for us. And goes over the points, some of which we just shared. So yeah, you should be contacting the people on the wait list regularly and checking in if they still want to be on that wait list, if that, if they still are interested in the plot. Yes, I've witnessed scenarios where there's been some plots that seem to be like legacy plots in the sense that they might not be on the list and they still get a plot every year. And that, yes, always brings about some tension. So keeping that transparent, this is a community, it's a community garden, right? So we should all be sharing this information, and you all have such great examples in the chat about how you manage it. And I love seeing that you're all sharing these things with each other. So that's great. Another way to keep how do we keep our members involved while they're on the wait list? So let's see. So like Adipon gave an example that the members need to volunteer in 3 projects, right? So getting them involved in volunteer projects. So that's a great opportunity. Erinn also mentioned the idea of sharing a plot with another member. There's also, with new membership especially, I sometimes recommend, if they're not able to get a plot, that perhaps they shadow a more senior garden member or someone that's been in the garden for a while, and see how they take care of their plot and learn from them during that time period. I've heard some gardens even create like a sort of mentorship program where if you're a new member, maybe you'll get matched with a more senior member of the garden, and that can help orient you to this community garden and see what that experience is like. Does anyone else want to share? Feel free to put in the chat or just unmute and put it out there. How else to keep members engaged while they await a plot? Anybody? Well, in order to help with this. Oh yes, the being redistributed. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring up a little activity to help us with this. Yes, getting them involved in communal areas. Great. Let me pull this up here. Okay, so we actually have a tool here to talk about this. It's called the ladder of engagement, and I'll share this. I'll share this with you. So essentially, I know some people are familiar with the idea of tiered membership for gardens, but ladder of engagement is similar in the sense that there's these tiers. So there's different levels of engagement and connection within the garden, right? So what you want someone to do should be related to their level of engagement, right? So if someone is at a lower level of engagement, maybe they don't have a plot yet, they won't be attending to plots, but what are some other things that we could ask them to do, right? So those that might be of a level of high engagement, might be those that have a leadership position already, or facilitate meetings, or you know, have other ways of communicating within the group. But when we're thinking about community organizing and activism and, you know, community groups, there are so many different ways to be involved, and everyone is bringing their different strengths into these gardens. So how else could we involve them in lower tiers when maybe they don't have the capacity to be at the top step with plots, running meetings, things like that? I invite you to think about if your garden has any events or programs. Yes, yeah. So Adara has entered, just shared the link to this in the chat. If you don't want to do the whole thing right now, it's still something worth sharing here so you can look at it for future reference. It's useful in any sort of like delegation opportunity. How are people utilizing communal plots for new members? How are they dividing? Oh, okay, so that's a question. Robin is wondering how you were organizing communal plots for new members, or how do you divide them? So that's a great question for us to put on the bike rack here. Okay, Alex here is answering this. Awesome. So could anyone give me an example of some more high engagement or more challenging tasks for your group?
We have water barrels that we need to fill because we don't have a water system. So we have to have members volunteer to help with the hydrant and fill our water barrels. And that takes at least like 2 hours to do, and at least 3 members. So that's a project. Last year we kind of did who can come, but it was never really evenly distributed. So this year we're doing a Google sheet where everyone has to sign up a specific amount of time so it's even, to help with our water, refilling our water barrels, because it does take up a lot of time and it's not even.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have any maybe tasks that like maybe work that you do but neglect to give away, or a task maybe that you find yourself consistently doing and thinking, well, someone else could do this? How about open hours?
Yes, I was just going to say, as a outreach coordinator, community engagement coordinator, I would really, advise folks to have new members, every member, help with open hours. Just from a GreenThumb standpoint, we allow the gardens to self-govern. You can have whatever kind of garden you want, but it has to be open to the public. And that is one of the things that I think a lot of gardens struggle with, is maintaining open hours. Obviously, with open hours, you can have the gate open and no members have to be there. Most gardens prefer that a member is around, just to keep an eye. So, I think that is a great way to engage members who might not be on the plot wait list. And that is actually just a high level requirement from GreenThumb. That is one of our main stipulations. So, it is really important to have members engaged in open hours. So that is my spiel about open hours. Make sure that every member, even folks with a plot, are responsible for open hours.
Yes, awesome. I think another task that we may forget to give away, or could be something for someone with a lower level of engagement, is generally like trash cleanup, litter cleanup. Another thing with GreenThumb gardens is, you can get citations for having too much trash and litter in your space. I know every garden kind of deals with that differently. I know some gardens just have like a group chat where they send pictures of the trash. Some do like garden, trash duty, or, you have a tour shift every once in a while where you go through and you walk around and pick up the trash. Does anyone else would love to hear some contributions of other small tasks that, you need to help your garden thrive?
While we're waiting for folks to think of some things, Robin asked for some tips on open hours, ongoing issues with getting people to be reliable and sign up. And so I don't know if Robin, right above your comment, Adder just posted about our next series on managing open hours. So yeah, I advise folks to sign up for that if you're available. It will maybe be recorded depending on, if folks are okay with that during the Zoom, so you can potentially check it out after. Yeah, so just check that one out. My really quick answer is just going back to when you think of bylaws, rights, responsibilities, and, if it comes to it, consequences for not engaging in your responsibilities. So that's my quick answer, is that make sure that those things are clear in your bylaws. But please attend the next workshop or watch the recording if we put one out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So the whole idea with this, yeah, there we go. Great. Some more contributions: mowing grass, watering communal areas. The whole idea of this ladder engagement, right, is where do we start climbing a ladder? At the bottom, right? So the idea being that this is just a start, and these are ways for people to get invested and motivate them to perhaps get more involved and maybe climb up the ladder of engagement. But how do we keep people engaged while they're on the wait list? Is they have to understand what their purpose is being there, right? So that's what we're doing now, is trying to brainstorm things that they could be doing so that these people still feel engaged in this group without a plot. They feel valued. They feel like they're contributing to something. And even in outside clubs or organizations, I've found that having a more defined role for a person gives them hope, because they know what they can grow into. They know that everyone started at this tier. Everyone starts with these tasks as we move up in engagement. And so they kind of know, this is the foundation I require. This is my strong first step. So what are some things that, if someone were a new member to the garden, what are some other tasks that you would show them to show them this is where we start? We have a lot of good ones going here. Adder added one for help with website. I think in addition to that, I might add like social media or engagement, taking photos. I think that's sometimes a great way to get new people involved, because they get to be a part of your greater network and see who is already engaging with the group, who's reaching out and wanting to be involved, and helps with that sense of purpose as well. And a big thing for me, and I know it depends, on the garden capacity, but when you're meeting these new members, and if they're on the the wait list, you ask them what they're seeking from the garden. Some people just want to have their plot quietly, but other people really want to learn from other gardeners. Some might be more focused in engagement and having events. Some members might have some experience with chickens or another feature that your garden has. So getting to know each person personally can help you increase their engagement as well, for understanding which areas they want to grow in, and perhaps you could connect them with another garden member that could provide that. Yes, yeah, Robin makes a good point here in the chat that we're trying to instill that working, to build the community. Yeah, because if you want to garden, you can garden, sure, but these are community gardens, right? And everyone has, a mission statement or a statement of purpose, these gardens do. And so there's something that is bringing you together within your fence, and that means that no one else is gardening outside of that fence. So like, why are you there all together? And I think that's a great point to emphasize to new members. This is a community space. We're learning from each other. We're engaging with each other. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the idea with this task here is, I know sometimes, especially with newer people, establishing trust and, delegating can be challenging, but truly this is how we keep people engaged, is we see that, we show them that they're valued and they have things to learn, and that there are ways to grow within the garden and within the garden group itself. Let's see. Okay, so I was going to give some time to do the writing activity here, but Adders posted this in the chat, so I invite each of you to look this over. It's a very interesting activity here, and yeah, it's a great way to see how people can step up the ladder and continue to grow. Yep, thanks for sharing it again, Adder. So let's discuss, I guess, like, from this, what are some of the themes that we're seeing here? Is there any opportunities that we're missing here? How else could other people get engaged while not on the wait list, or while on the plot wait list?
I think you could invite folks to join a committee. That could be a really great way to build relationships with other people in the garden and start actively working on things with other people and gain a sense of responsibility.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Adder. Yeah, put that on our post-it.
And I was just going to say, Marie brought up a good one. And Marie says, I feel like some workshops or activities to be a part of make it fun. And yes, as a coordinator, again, there are certain requirements that a garden has. The big ones are around being open to the public. So along with open hours, gardens are required to have 2 public events per year. So that is, something we keep track of and is an important part of maintaining your license and being allowed to be a GreenThumb garden. So similar to open hours, this is some of the, I think we were talking about how to get people engaged in more than just kind of their individual plot, or the idea that a garden is just my plot and that's it, is, getting members who are on the wait list to help engage in some of those more communal aspects of the garden, like hosting public events.
Yes, yeah. And the other cool thing about doing a committee, if your garden group has that sort of structure, is it often, encourages them to work with garden leadership and have a pretty close working relationship with garden leadership. So there's a lot of built-in opportunities for mentorship and garden history and background from those that are in the might be in the leadership roles, or general, just getting more community context and being able to share and engage stories with others on your committee, and feel like you're getting a say in the things that are happening, even without being in a plot per se. What are so with these are different awesome examples we have on our ladder of engagement. What are some ways that after this we could, so say we have some of these, or maybe some lower tier activities, right? Or maybe lower involvement, trash cleanup, open hours, communal things. What are some ways that we could build upon these and build the leadership of the members and grow the group further? Anyone have are these sparking any ideas for you for how these could go up the ladder? And if not, this is also, we have time. So this is a chance also for you to ask questions. If anyone has questions, or, we're all here with other community gardeners. So this is a chance for you to share perhaps something that may have worked well for you. Or I'm curious, if you're a garden that typically has a long wait list, do you have any other examples to provide to people here for how you get people involved and interested, and say if they were to have to wait for a while? Robin is in the chat asking how people communicate these steps to members. Don't have a system and need one. Absolutely. So with the ladder of engagement here, we also talk about, I talked about like tiered membership. It's also like tiered engagement, where you say, before we get to this certain level of engagement or membership, where you have a plot. That's something where you could perhaps outline it in the membership requirements. If you wanted to make it more formalized for new members and let them know about the timeline of engagement and getting more involved. It's also something where I've heard some people will do more of like have a packet of info for new members to talk about, okay, you're new, welcome, what can you do here? And perhaps that means you have some committee options that are open just to new members, or certain garden tasks are more geared towards new members so that they can learn how the land is in the group. Adipon says in the chat that they have monthly meetings. So we get to talk about things each month. So that's great to, yes, it's lovely when garden groups meet regularly and can check in about these things and provide space for one another to talk about where they want the garden to grow. So let me see. I hope that was helpful, Robin, but I welcome other garden members to contribute here. And yeah, let us let's see.
Yeah, I definitely welcome people to share their experiences and brainstorm together about how they communicate these steps to new members in response to Robin's question. I also just want to put out there, not to think too far ahead into the future, but in June, we're actually going to be offering more of these Grow Your Garden Group series. And one of the workshops we'll be offering is how to welcome and orient new members. So definitely start brainstorming now, but also just want to plant the seed in there to come join our June workshop. It's not even on our event right now, but we'll definitely be addressing that.
Pretty quiet crowd here today. So here we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marie. Post tasks in the garden. Maria, I'd love for you to share more about that. Do you have a board? Or how do you make those tasks public and accessible to all?
We have a chalkboard in the shed in one of my gardens, and that's how we post the kind of weekend tasks. But some people forget to look there, so sometimes we try to email people the list of tasks so that they'll find it one way or the other. Because it's tough because not everybody's in the garden all the time of the board members, or it can be tough sometimes to keep that engagement.
I want to say that our group, we also use WhatsApp to communicate. Usually I will send emails with more complicated or in-depth information, and we do minutes. So I do minutes of the meetings. I send that out in an email, but like for quick communication, we use WhatsApp to say, hey, we're in the garden, or so-and-so has delivered this, but WhatsApp has been helpful for all the garden group members to just check in with each other and just see quick posts.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Adipon. That's group chats can be a great resource. Absolutely. Chantal also shared in the chat that they ask, what talent do you have that you want to share? And I think that's great. I'm sure that's something we'll unpack a bit more in the new member orientation workshops that are coming up in June. But yes, I love new membership and any like orienting thing, because it is a really great opportunity to get to know these people. And Chantal's right. Someone may have a really great talent that others see, but that doesn't mean that they always want to be sharing that. Maybe they do that for work and they don't want to come to the garden and do that. I know someone that does, event marketing. And so when the garden found out, they were wanting them to do the event marketing, but they really didn't want to. So I think that is really important to ask someone what they want to share. What's your intention of being in this space? What do you wish to take out of this? What do you want to learn from this? Because they may have a lot of skills in that, but it doesn't mean they want to apply that in that space or, use it that way. So it's a great option to ask people, or even ask, an area where they want to grow, because then it can help you better pair them with different engagement activities, or perhaps with a more experienced garden member, so that there can be a mentorship opportunity as well.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, it takes a lot of the guesswork out for you. Like how, instead of being, how do I engage this person? Just ask them what would be engaging for them as garden tasks, or just as a member of the garden.
Yeah, and an easy way, I think, to do that, if I know someone was saying here, like how to get everything out to the new members. In the past, like even like a Google form, something easy online where they can even just select multiple choice. You could list different areas of involvement in the garden or different tasks and say, like, select those that interest you. And then you could have it all in front of you and be able to see what new members, what they're interested in, what they want to learn about. And that could help you better engage them and keep them engaged in the garden while they await their plot. Because as we've discussed in this meeting, being part of the community garden isn't just having the plot, right? It's all these other things as well. So again, this is just one of our brief lunchtime workshops, and I recognize I want to respect everyone's time. We have a few minutes here remaining. So do you have any additional questions, anyone, based on, what you wanted to get out of this workshop? Or I also invite you to share, those of you that, came and were just open to learning. I open you to share in the chat or unmute what you're going to take away from the workshop today. Or if there's anything that you learned that you're excited to bring back to your garden group. Laura says so much. Making the list public. Yes.
Yes, keeping lines of communication open seems like one of the big takeaways.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yes, well, thanks. Thanks everyone for sharing to randomize the list. Yeah, interesting. We've lots of I'm gonna speak over it, but yeah, and adding all this to the bylaws. Yes, that's so important. You could have a verbal agreement. You could have something where everyone's like, yeah, we get that. But until it's in writing in your bylaws and everyone's agreed to it, does it really exist? So yeah, it's nice to have that to fall back on. And that way there's also a system of accountability and how to follow through and make sure that we're sticking to the things that we've committed to in our bylaws and the license agreement and everything as well. Yeah, so thanks everyone for your patience. We have a lot of construction in the office right now. Awesome. So we're going to share this recording as well as some of the links that were shared in the chat. I think Adder will send a follow-up here, but thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to talk garden plot wait lists with us. I hope that you all got some helpful information to share and bring back to your group. Yeah, any other closing notes, Erinn, Adder?
Just want to say thanks everyone for coming. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to your outreach coordinator. If you are
Community
already
engagement coordinator.
I was so close. Your community engagement coordinator. Every borough has one. You can check on the GreenThumb website for your garden if you don't happen to know, especially folks I know there are a couple folks who weren't part of a garden right now. Yes. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Erinn and Hannah, and thank you all for being here. You will get an email from me in the next couple days, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.